Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard XFL. We got 2 weeks in the books, and it's starting to shape out that we can actually start to judge teams and figure out exactly who is made of what. So it's going to be interesting predictions this week. We have some huge spreads that I'm interested to get into. But first of all, Smokey, JJ, how are you guys doing?
I'm
doing
good.
well.
All right, that's good.
Don't
So Smokey,
before
before we do this week, how is it looking so far? Well, of course, we're all competing in predictions. Did the first 2 weeks? How is our standings?
Right now, first week, of course, we got one each. This week, almost pulled it off. I mean, you guys are exactly the same, so do I really need to differentiate? You guys are 3 each. You picked all the exact same teams. It's like you're sitting there cooperating this.
I told you, Alex is stealing my picks.
Okay, I'm going first today. I will. I'll go first today.
And this past week, I got 2. So that brings the... And it would have been if I only needed 4 more points for the Roughnecks to get over
that means we're 500.
spread.
Yes,
that was a big spread. Yeah. So
total points?
3 and 4 and 4.
Yeah.
All right, that's okay.
That means the two of us are 500 and Smokey is doing even worse.
Yes, 3/8.375.
It's only because of the
I think
spreads.
this week is time for some...
I've actually picked more winners than you guys, but the spreads have gotten me.
But the spreads, yeah.
But
exactly it.
That's the rules, right?
That's the point, yeah. If it was in the NFL, we just
I get it. Is that how that works?
Well, I mean, we all agreed upon those rules before the start of the season.
Get on the game, man. We gotta pick the spreads here.
I'm just telling you why I'm better than you, man. Don't have a cow, man.
Why you have less points? All right, I see. All right, then prove yourself this week. Should I go like first, or do you want to go before us? What do you want? Pick the order.
I don't care. I want. I mean, you guys are sitting there looking at each other's papers, obviously. So it doesn't
I have my papers in my brain. I don't have any physical papers here. I got it all mapped out in my head.
I've never picked any football games using paper. I've always just kind of done it on the spot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I pick them before, but I don't write them down.
No, I usually do it on the spot.
All right, cool. So let's get going then. Smokey, first game, your Vipers at home against the Houston Roughnecks, who are looking pretty strong. Vipers +6.
Well, of course they are. Against the best team in the XFL so far. +6. All right, so looks like Aaron Murray might be back for this one, and the Vipers have a great defense. They're going to step up in this one and finally pull it. No, I'm just playing. It's going to be the Roughnecks because the Roughnecks are really good. And PJ Walker is amazing, dude. Him and Cam Phillips had a connection in this game. And this guy's looking like somewhere between Lamar Jackson and our Lord and Savior at this point in time. But he might
somewhere between those.
Yes. He might just play.
So like guaranteed at least better than Lamar.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he's not the best one. I mean, maybe he is the best one. Whatever. That's neither here nor there. This guy might play his way back into the NFL. Actually, maybe into the NFL for the first time. I don't think he's had any playing time in the NFL, as far as I know of. Going with the Roughnecks to cover those points.
All right. So, JJ, I'm going to go first.
Sure.
For you, I'm going to agree with the Smoke Dog because obviously this spread seems way too small. The Vipers seem like one of the bottom teams. Roughnecks seem like arguably after 2 weeks the number 1 team. I think it was a great game against St. Louis, and I think it's one of the more likely championship games at the end of the season. The way it looks right now, that will definitely be an interesting one. It was a close game. 2 great teams. I think Houston should easily win this game by double digits, no matter really who plays quarterbacks for Tampa Bay, because the talent disparity in this game, these 2 teams are just that big. And yeah, like you said, PJ Walker is an MVP candidate, front runner right from week 2.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna be talking about him a lot when it comes to the NFL next year. I'm sure about that if it keeps going like that. So yes, I'll take Houston to cover the spread and easily so.
I am going to agree with what was said so far. As a matter of fact, I I might even agree on, at this very point, the Roughnecks being the best team in the league. That being said, I do think that our Battlehawks have some more cleaning up to do, but I think that
there's definitely something to be corrected.
They're very much like the whole like diamond in the rough sort of situation. Like week 1, they had a lot of penalties. They kind of worked that out in week 2, but then they had a couple of bad interceptions.
Yeah.
Although there is an argument to be made that one of those should not have been one because there was an offside there that was not called. But details.
You could, but after losing a game to Houston, you gotta say Houston is the best team right now, probably.
Yeah, I mean, at least you guys have the second best quarterback in the league so far.
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well.
Yeah,
but
Houston might have the best yet. I don't know. That being said, Roughnecks, very strong team, and 1 touchdown point difference. That does seem very small. I would argue that Tampa might be the worst team in the league.
Either them or probably, or I would probably say New York, but Tampa is not doing good right now. Yeah, LA. Also.
So I think that 6 points is a very small spread, and I'm also gonna take the Roughnecks.
All right, so we all agree on this one. This is also one that, looking at this sheet, this is probably a bet. When it comes down, this might end up being a bet for me. $5, $10 on Houston seems like a reasonable pick there with that spread. Looking to the second game, got Dallas, the Renegades at the Seattle Dragons, and Smokey.
And Landry Jones
the Dragons are
is back.
plus 4.5.
Oh yeah, I gotta wait for your spread.
Dragons plus 4.5.
Okay.
So smallest spread of the weekend.
Yeah, and that doesn't change my pick at all right there. Seattle is a run-first team with a fairly decent defense. This Brandon Silvers kid, I don't know what their backups are looking like, but maybe they have something better than this guy because he's not. I mean, man, he's looking like the Vipers quarterback right now. But he wasn't.
One
guess.
Yeah, just pick one. Just pick one. It's, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
He who starts at quarterback for the Vipers.
But Landry Jones is back, and Bob Stoops is running that Oklahoma offense with the Dallas Renegades right now. And, Landry struggled at first. You could see that his knee was still bothering through the first half of that game. But he picked it up, and in that second half, he was looking like the national championship guy. So I'm going to pick Dallas to cover that spread.
All right, my turn next, I guess. I agree with you once again. I'm not cheating up anybody's notes, but first week that I got kind of enough impressions to dare to pick against spreads here, and I think Dallas also is a much better team than Seattle. I think the spread is too small. This might be worthy of a bet. Maybe not quite as much as the first one, but 4.5 points. They'll win by more than a touchdown. I would be surprised if it didn't, even though it is at Seattle. But Dallas is one of the teams with the higher ceiling that it hasn't really reached so far, so they'll get better. Especially as the quarterback gets into a rhythm and gets back into it. Dallas is going to be one of the tougher teams in the league and in the West for sure. And they should easily beat Seattle in this one. So I will take them at minus 4.5.
Yeah, the Texas teams, they are looking pretty good. I mean, Seattle coming off of a strong win against the Vipers. I mean, what am I supposed to say about that? Seattle has won against one team, and that was the Vipers. 4.5 points, does that save them? Probably not. I'm also going to go with Dallas.
So we all agree on this one, too. Alright, let's get this one. This one's going to be interesting. Biggest spread of the weekend. Biggest spread in the entire league so far, if I'm not mistaken. Of the entire year.
Yeah, but like half a point.
Yes. New York Guardians plus 9.5 at St. Louis.
Woo! That is a spread right there. That makes it a little tougher. The Guardians got shut out last week. They look like crap. I think I mentioned it last week. Cardell Jones and those DC defenders are amazing, but Guardians have no defense, and their offense is fading quickly. They did somewhat okay in the first week against the Vipers, but they put this kid Marquise Williams in there over Matt McGloin at some point in this game because Matt McGloin was stinking the field up. You guys have Jordan Tamu, who, like I said earlier, probably the second best quarterback in the league at this point in time through 2 games. Not the biggest name, but neither was PJ Walker, and these guys are standouts right now. Man, that is tough, though. I mean, I definitely had the Battlehawks to win this game, but that spread is gigantic. I guess I'm gonna stick with the Battlehawks, man. That's crazy.
You're gonna eat all these points?
I mean, they're at home. Yeah, they're at home, and they're a much better team all around. So yeah, I'll stick with it. See what happens.
I wanna be honest. Even I'm having a tough time eating this spread. I mean, 9.5 is
That's
huge.
a lot. Yeah.
A lot of things can happen, and even just we're getting into the range where it's a spread that teams will just take. They have a lead, and say they have a 6-7 point lead. They'll not extend that spread. They just take a knee because it's already winning. So those are like when it gets into that higher than one full score spread, it's really tough to pick it because it just happens more rarely because the team doesn't drive to necessarily achieve that to win the game. So I'm actually gonna you can call this treason or whatever. I'll actually take the Guardians with all those points. I'm sorry, but I kind of have to. That's too many points for me 2 weeks into any season. But St. Louis should win this game. I don't have any doubts that they should win the game, but I think they'll probably win it by 6 or 7. And with this given spread, I have to kind of go against what my heart here, go against St. Louis and just pick them because I think this is too risky. This early in any season, too risky to cover this big a spread.
About half the games that have been played so far weren't that close.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. That being said, other games were relatively close. The Guardians do currently look like one of the weaker teams based on what we've seen. The Battlehawks, boy. I think that they're gonna keep improving over the season. I mean, probably that's gonna be the case for all teams, but I think for the Battlehawks, we've seen a lot of the like the thing that I said, like we had the penalties and we had the unnecessary picks. Like that's stuff that can be refined without necessarily having to improve the roster or anything like that. Like you can just take the players you have, you can trade them up a little bit, and they can relatively easily learn those things. It's, of course, generally a lot of the players in the league are very young, especially on the Battlehawks. I think there's a lot of young players, including the quarterback, who is, I've been told, one of the more important players on a football team.
You've been informed correctly by whomever that source was.
Smart
9.5 points. That's a lot, and I'm going to be the tiebreaker here.
Yeah.
I'm going to say St. Louis in the home opener, they're gonna pile on the points, they're gonna show off to the home audience, they're gonna wanna make a bit of a show out of it, and
win it by double digits.
I think they are definitely capable of doing it.
For sure, yeah. I know that.
And I think that due to the home field, A, they have an extra bit of an advantage, and B, they might be for the first time playing at home maybe more interested in trying to pile it on, so
You'll eat 9.5 points.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right. I mean, I'm not doubting that they are a double-digit favorite as a team over New York, which is probably the worst team in the league right now. In theory, they should win by double digits, but just given the talent and the ability, what we've seen so far on the field, but I think just too much can happen. So for me, too big of a risk to pick it. But of course, I hope it happens anyway. I like that.
I mean, if New York's last game is any indication, then that is very easily possible.
Yeah, then it's very easily doable. Yeah, might take the under on this one too because New York just can't seem to score, and with the Battlehawks defense, that will be an even tougher task. But let's get into the last one. Last night game: DC Defenders at LA. And the Wildcats are plus 8.5, so also a big spread here.
Oh, wow. Dang, that does make it harder than I thought. 8.5. Well, Josh Johnson is back. Cordell Jones looks amazing.
He looked good.
I got him as probably a third quarterback in the league right now.
I might have to list him at 2. At 1 or Jordan? 2. Yeah.
See, I have Jordan listed second, but And then you got the pile up of the old stars like Josh Johnson and Landry Jones. You know. But anyway, back to this game. DC Defenders, I think they're the second best team in the league right now, next to the Houston Roughnecks. And somebody doesn't agree with that, obviously, due to that long wind, that big inhale.
I didn't express disagreement. I just indicated dubiosity.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man.
Yeah, it's a questionable statement.
I know
Continue.
Like you take one loss to argue the best team in the league, and all of a sudden you're not even the second best anymore.
Tough.
Like what happened?
Tough. Keep going.
Anyway, wow. Is Nelson Spruce gonna? Oh man, I don't know. That's a big gap. All right, I'm gonna do it. Just stick with it. You know, what do I got to lose? I'm gonna stay with the DC Defenders and Cardell Jones to cover all of those points.
You are eating a lot of points today.
Yes.
It's a risky strategy. But,
It is.
I do respect it. I am, once again, not going to do it because it's too big of a spread for me after 2 weeks in a football league. I'm going to take the safe route. I'll take LA. I think that DC is going to win this game. I think they'll win it handily. I think the score is not going to reflect the amount of difference between those two teams. They'll win it by one score, a touchdown, 7 points, maybe even a field goal. It's not going to be a lead that's ever in serious danger. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but they're going to win it handily. It's not going to be a huge spread. Take DC. Yes, they are a good team. Are they better than St. Louis or not? It's very tough to say right now. We'll probably see when they play each other.
Twice, too.
Yes, but it's not a clear statement to me right now, like JJ already mentioned. So that's something that I would very much have to disagree with, at least to say it definitively. Maybe it's homerism, but I probably have St. Louis at 2 in the power ranking still.
Yep.
We'll be able to tell more if they cover this huge spread, for example, or either of those teams covers their huge spread. We got better indication next week, but I'm gonna take the Wildcats here once again with the points.
LA seems like a very chaotic organization. That being said, they did play better last week than I thought they would, which make of that what you will. I wasn't necessarily looking too highly at them. DC, of course, fantastic. We are definitely all in agreement that they're in like the top half of the league. They are very likely. I mean, yeah, they are gonna be one of the 2 playoff teams from the East.
Yeah, I would think so.
They're gonna face. That means they're gonna play 3 times actually. St. Louis and DC.
Because St. Louis and DC are likely to make them. Looking right now, I mean, it's very
I mean, of course, there's still a lot of football to be played here.
they seem the 2 best teams.
But it seems like the winner of that is gonna face the winner of the Texas division.
the Texas Bowl.
Yeah. Down in the. Anyways, back to the game. I do think that DC is heavily favored, but I'm not as confident in the Defenders on the road as I am on the Battlehawks at home. And so on this one, I'm gonna actually side with Alex, and I'm gonna say that that's a lot of points.
All right.
And
implicitly also saying that you think St. Louis is the number 2 team.
yes, I have also. I'm pretty sure I've also explicitly said that.
Yeah.
But I would say that I could see them win by 7, maybe even 8 points, but 8. The thing is, I can see the score differential be right around that, and I'm just gonna take the safer route thereby, and I'm gonna also side with LA and take the points.
So what's the breakdown today? How do we pick? We agree. JJ and I
agreed on the first 2.
Yeah.
You only
And then
disagreed on the
I agree with Smokey on the second, on the third.
I always just took all the points in the last one because I'm greedy.
Yeah, you took the points in the last 2, and everyone here covered the spread in the first 2.
Yeah.
And then I took St. Louis, and then Smokey took DC.
Yeah, so I want to do this quick segment. I'm just going to throw this in. It's going to be the betting advice of the week from Alex. I don't know if you guys are that into that stuff, but I've started to do this a little bit, so I'm betting on games a little bit. And my advice, if you want to bet on the XFL this week, a couple of things that you want to do. Want to take Houston with the spread. You just want to eat it and take it. I believe it's going to be double-digit win. Should be potentially the biggest Score differential of the weekend. I would take the under in the St. Louis game.
Do we have the over-under line anywhere?
What?
Do we even have the over-under?
I don't think I have. What is the overall? Let's check that actually. It's a good idea. Let's check the exact over/under. I'm expecting it to be around 46 points again, like it was last week.
Right.
They turned it down a little bit from week 1 to week 2, but week 2 was more. It was closer. So see if we can find the weekly ones here.
XFL odds. Wait, no. What does it?
It doesn't seem like they're out yet.
Because DraftKings doesn't list them. I checked my bookie; they didn't seem to have any.
So let's just say we assume 46. I think that's the earliest that I've seen. I'll take the under in the St. Louis game. I think it's probably gonna be around 30 to 35 points. Nothing huge there, and that's really the two bets that I would make, and that I'm probably gonna end up making. You can definitely make a point for Dallas with the spread to win, or just put them. The money line isn't terrible on Dallas either. And I'm fairly confident they will win at Seattle. But those are the two ones that I would really make. So my money's on Houston with the spread and the under for the Battlehawks game. Because I just don't think that New York is going to score more than... They're not going to score more than 10 points. I don't think so. And since I said that St. Louis is not going to cover the spread, they should clearly stay under whatever mark is given there. So that's my two ones there. Do you guys any calls on that? Any bets that you would recommend?
I do agree that the Renegades money line looks pretty good in terms of where you're not getting a lot out of it. You're just getting 50% on top of what you bet, but it's the best odds for the favorite team here money-wise, and they are still very likely to win, so that makes sense.
I think so, yeah. They'll get better from last week, so they should have a good road there.
I'll tell you this. I'm a fantasy guy, of course, so... Yes. Not really into the straight up bets, but if you guys are playing fantasy, Jordan Ta'amu is the 4th in line for daily fantasy on DraftKings this week. So I would take the savings and play him against the 6th defense in the league. So
yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, we can do that. Smokey's fantasy segment. Do the betting segment and the fantasy segment, because it definitely is interesting for the XFL too.
Yeah, and also just the rushing upside of. There is a couple of quarterbacks that have some good rushing stats.
He's mobile. He's playing a bad defense. Home opener. There's definitely a lot of things that speak for a big day, and he had a good performance. 2 good performances. So far. So
I think he's also one of the more reliable ones, and he's gonna stop. So if you're looking at Tampa, for example. It's a very real possibility that they'll play 3 different quarterbacks in a game. That's just, I can almost guarantee that St. Louis will play 2 quarterbacks, but that is to say they'll play Nick Fitzgerald for 2 snaps.
To run a quarterback power
or
something.
And then the vast majority of the snaps are going to go to Ta'amu. So
I've tried to play Tampa in fantasy, and it's really pointless. It doesn't really matter who you pick. It's kind of pointless. So far, over 2 games. This could all change, of course, but...
Who's the leading receiver right now among all of them in fantasy?
Hold on. I will pull it up right now. Cam Phillips for Houston. Nelson Spruce is number 2.
You mentioned that he had a good connection with PJ Walker, so that offense is pretty electric.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns in this past game.
Yeah, that was, of course, okay, that drove the points up big time, of course.
Yep. Although I think Nelson Spruce overall may have the same amount of touchdowns. I think is TD.
He had a good first game.
Yeah, okay. So, no, it's just 2 for him. I thought he had 3 also.
Just 2. All right, but there's still some development to be had there. But yeah, Phillips had an insane game, of course. Let's just, to close this out once again, check back what we did last week. We keep track of the stats a little bit and seeing how stuff develops. And specifically, according to conversions, of course, we had our first successful 3-point conversion in the new XFL, which happened from the 5-yard line because of a penalty flag, so not a real one, if you want to be like that. But JJ... Quick statistical insight here. How is the conversion stats looking?
I actually haven't looked those up before, and I've literally told you that. So, I can look them on a team-by-team basis, but that's not... because we have, we can add them up, in the...
So, basically what we're seeing is that they are still somehow not really working. And I think it comes back to what I said last week in a bit. It's the strategy of how you approach it. Even though you have more choices to make, you can go for the regular 1, the 2, the 3. The 1 point, the 1 extra point, which in the NFL will be the 2-point conversion, should succeed over half the time, or a bit over 50% of the time.
The 1-point attempt is, I just quickly checked through them, is, if I didn't miscount, 2 and 11. The 2-point is...
And that's really bad. 2 and 11 is really weak for 1 week. And the first week wasn't much better. So we have a lot of...
I think there's only 4
overall. Mostly
people...
2 points is 1 in 6, I think. And I think the 3-point was, 1 out of 2.
Yeah, because 1 was successful in the 5 and 1 was not successful. That's just week 2 stats. So we're still seeing like what we projected, kind of mostly.
That means they're worse than the week 1 stats, though. Except for the 3-pointers, which are, statistically speaking now, your odds are the best for going for 3.
And this is where statistics...
Make of that what you will.
Unfortunately fail us still. But the development is interesting. We could probably still chalk this up to a small enough, too small of a sample size. But at the end of the season, when a lot of games have been played, we should look at this again and see if we can find reasons for why our convergence extra points generate working so little.
And also I think the takeaway is, though, that the odds for 1 and 2 are still close enough together that you might as well go for 2 if there's no other distinguishing factor.
By the way, this is not an insignificant factor in a lot of games going with the under. Underscore set. Because over the course of a game, that misses out on up to 10 points. Between 5 and 10 points. With just many failed conversions. See, most people still going for 1s and 2s like we had expected. 3 of 4 is finally the successful one. But so far not working out. So probably a lot of coaches would like to be able to kick again, but they'll have to figure it out. Right now I'm going to chalk it up to mostly what I said last week. Offense is just not as developed yet. It takes longer. These teams have only been together for a couple months. And we've seen that too. We've seen a lot of turnovers in general, very stocky offensive drives, not a lot of things working off script, because defense generally has just an easier time implementing their stuff quicker. It could still change over the season, but it's definitely going to be an interesting observation at the end of the year and seeing how this sort of turns out.
Well, I think the coaches are going to get a read for these defenses and figure out ways around them pretty soon. I mean, it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought these were going to be, some 6 to 10 games or something, but we're actually seeing more scoring, and that's what the league was designed for. They want to see passes, they want to see passing touchdowns, and they're getting it for the most part. I mean, it's still great football that's going on. I'm wondering, in markets like New York with the Guardians, how they came out. They had a great support in the first week and in the second week for the most part, but when you drop bombs like that, is that support going to keep showing up in markets like New York?
I think they have to start winning games for it to really catch that wave again. You can't just go out and lose everything and not even score a point and expect these kinds of fans to show up every time. You have to show up with something. That's going to be important.
But I think that at the end of the season there might be some serious thought put into that, and either the teams will be severely restructured or even moved that aren't doing well enough, and all of a sudden, your New York team is somewhere else, as long as it's east of the barrier that they put up, and New York and Tampa are gonna move somewhere else. The West is gonna be relatively stable.
I'm not sure if that many teams move, but it's definitely possible. It's not a great image on the league after 1 year. But, I mean, if it's really not working, it's not working.
I mean, the thing is, right, if it turns out that the New York market didn't respond too well to their pretty poorly performing team, then, there is other markets in the area that maybe are more open to a new team.
Maybe DC. Be the best football team in town no matter what you do.
What?
Maybe DC.
DC already has the Defenders.
Yeah, but they still, why not?
Well, DC was a great
honestly,
pick.
Really?
Yeah, DC was good. Yeah.
Yeah, my main thought.
They're on the road to be more popular than the Redskins.
If you're moving the New York team, of course, my main idea was, and I think I mentioned this before as a possible city, is Toronto.
Right.
The CFL has thought about putting a second team there for a while because they think the market isn't saturated, and the schedule doesn't even clash with the CFL.
Toronto's
so
a good idea.
You don't have any direct competition there, and there are enough Canadian fans of actual American football. So that would probably be a good one. But then that being said, that's the thing to look for in like half a year, like after the season's been over for a while.
Concluded. We know
all the stats,
financial reports, how our team's actually doing.
I think,
and then of course,
I think they're missing out not targeting these cities that have giant college football teams, but no pro team. Like I think
like Louisville sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I was thinking Louisville, but if Louisville is kind of a basketball city, and I think they could get into it, but I think there's other cities like, if you go to Birmingham or Tuscaloosa, or something that you may have better success than even a Louisville or a Lexington or something.
For Birmingham, the other advantage is that you have stats to look at how a spring league team would perform because the Birmingham Iron played there in the Alliance.
Weren't they the number 1 or number 2 team in the AAF? And I think they had a good turnout from what I remember.
I mean, I can tell you who was the best in terms of finance. That was San Antonio, but I honestly can say that I don't know that much about the Alliance. I haven't back then. I didn't watch football, so that's kind of
that league was done before you even became a fan.
Yeah. They didn't have their finances in order. They rushed it out to try to beat the XFL, and they thought they were going to get a leg up by starting the season early, and they had
nothing,
less than half the planning time that the XFL is
like the original XFL basically. It just wasn't done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and also their big part of their business model was around their like technology and their app, which they didn't even have out by the time the league started. So great stuff there. Yeah, the Alliance was a huge failure, which is a shame because I would have loved to get the AAF XFL Super Bowl. Well, they would probably call it something else, but
that would have been really cool. The Mega Bowl.
Well, I forget the guy's name, but in the original XFL, Vince McMahon had a partner, and it was an executive. I forget his name. It was Dick something, but it was actually his son who started the AAF. And I can only imagine maybe it's some sour grapes over the XFL the first time, but that
maybe they're thinking of a different business, a family business at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, I would.
Sports
hope
leagues
so.
Doesn't seem to be it.
Exactly.
But hopefully this XFL is gonna stick around. It's looking good so far.
I mean, it's looking so good from an organizational
standpoint. So much better than anything else. Mm-hmm. That's true. Some things to still pick about, but it's fine. It's really, for the standard, it's really, really good so far.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna hope that it all starts with the quality of play that's been looking good so far. One more thing that I just wanted to bring up that has surprised me maybe the most is that what I thought in theory would be one of the biggest problems of the game rules actually has turned out to work perfectly fine. That's the kickoff. Mm-hmm. I expected there to be multiple return touchdowns every game. I mean, I expected the kickoff to be the most powerful play in the game, honestly, because the return team should have such an advantage with the rules that it's given, but it's not really the case. Most returns end up between the 30-40, which does surprise me a little bit that in practice it actually works out balanced. I thought that would be a big problem.
What surprised me actually is the amount of kickoffs that ended at the 20.
Yeah.
Or even like some of the 15.
Yeah.
Well,
because I'm surprised at how often the line gets through and they can actually stop the returner before where they're lined up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the way this is set up, you're probably going to have about an equal chance of running back a kickoff for a touchdown that you would having a running back get through the line and go for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Because there's not much difference in those two scenarios. So I think it's, I don't know, maybe put your running back there and let him catch the kickoffs.
It's something like that. Yeah, I'm very surprised though. I thought that because you can scheme up the blocking, you can have crack blocks and stuff. It should be much easier because the guys are right. The coverage team is right in front of them. It should be much easier to engage in a block, just physically speaking, as it is if someone has the whole field running down to avoid you and to avoid those. The coverage team just gets less options. For one, with the bigger, more punishing touchback rules. And also, there's no like sided coverage, and you can't kick left, you can't kick right, and really have your coverage team play it as properly because they don't get the same type of angles to approach and attack downfield. But it's working. It's working out perfectly fine. I like this the way it's doing right now. I like it better than the NFL kickoff. I think it's a more interesting play to me.
I mean, it's definitely more interesting. It ends up being more exciting, which is what they were going for. I mean, they did say they tested the rules extensively, and I believe them, because everything that they said they tested and worked.
It seemed they were right.
It still looks weird to me, and that is something that to me stands out, because I haven't been watching football for that long, and still it looks weird to me. Because the ball is flying through the air and no one is moving. But it works. Yeah. I like it.
It does.
I do. It just feels weird every time I see it.
I'm just surprised how somehow there's not return touchdowns all the time. Because it would seem like there's a much better chance for it.
Well, all it's going to take is to get through basically the line of scrimmage there. And
one guy. You gotta get one guy sealed. You gotta get one guy seal blocked, and you have a hole. And it should work.
Then you gotta.
It doesn't though. So
try not to get tackled by the kicker at that point.
Yeah, but that's possible. I think most return men can evade a kicker in the open field. Whenever that has happened in the NFL, funny video clips have came to be.
Not as funny as when an interception return and the QB starts blocking, but
the quarterback is trying to make a tackle. Yeah.
Like some of those, especially like the older quarterbacks, when they would bounce make it look like they're trying to tackle, but they're actually not really wanting the contact.
but kickers do it too. But there's sometimes you get a kicker or a punter who makes a great tackle, like a great saving tackle. But usually they get their ankles broken on returns if they're the last guy. They don't even touch him because they don't really stand a chance.
Pat McAfee
they have gotten through the line. Oh, McAfee was great, yeah. I also like him as a reporter. And
he's great.
I don't like how they're running around on the field during the games. That will cause problems sooner or later. There'll be a major incident this year, and I promise that right now. I know it will. But yeah, I like what they're doing. Overall, league is living up to the hype, which is tough, by the way, because the hype was big. Or let's remember that. So to me, this is working out pretty well,
and it's more enjoyable to watch than the NFL.
Kind of is, right? From the broadcast standpoint.
From
the quality of play isn't quite there.
Yeah,
but the quality of play is also living up. Actually, more than living up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be NFL level. I'm just saying it's not at the NFL level, but just the entire presentation and oh my god, the review system, right? Like, what a game changer it is to not be bored to death while they're reviewing a play.
That's great.
How did no one else think of? I mean, the AAF did it, but how did no one else think of that?
That's great. That is maybe my favorite part about the system. I still am very suspicious about how they do it with the coaches and the sideline, and I probably don't like it as much because eventually people will grow tired of it. The people involved, the players, the coaches and stuff. But for instance, it's amazing. So yeah, I do very much like the broadcast.
I'm sure that'll be in a meeting in the off season.
Yeah. They'll address that. Just turn up the mics, don't harass people on the sideline right away and that sort of thing.
I kind of like that though.
It's fun as a viewer, but it's not fun as a player.
I find it interesting how they got the idea like, oh hey, they're wearing headsets, so we can just talk to them.
Just
it's
tap
like,
into them.
Like no, but like they'll talk to the head coach like during the game.
Yeah.
Like the commentaries will just like start talking to the head coach through his headset and just start interviewing him.
It's a weird thing.
I don't know if that's the best thing for
also, like
the
the
actual
halftime
play.
thing, you only get 10 minutes of halftime, and then you're making the head coach give an interview for like 5 minutes of that time. That's not to the best interest of the football team.
How do you think Belichick would respond to that?
Oh boy, imagine that. Like someone pulling him aside on the sideline, he would punch somebody. I want to see that. I definitely want to see that. But yeah, that's something that maybe some teams will have a couple complaints about in the off season, and that might also get fixed. rather soon.
Did
But
you-
that's not a big deal, though.
Did you see the Nelson Spruce interview after I think it was his first touchdown? Like, how did you feel about that touchdown? And he's like, he's looking around. He's like, yeah, I scored. Thank you.
I mean, what do you want to say? Like, he just came off the field.
Yeah, exactly.
The best part is when a kicker misses and they're like, hey, so you missed that kick, huh?
Yeah, he missed a kick, huh? That's good. Or the coach, when the quarterback misses someone who's wide open, is like, oh, come on, you had it. Those are good. Those are fun. I like.
No, but it's also like probably not very nice to the players when you interview them right after they made a big mistake.
That's the thing, right? Like, you throw a pick and like you're not even off the field, and there's someone in your face
Yeah.
with a microphone. That's a bit annoying, I think.
Hey, why did you throw that pick? Well, I didn't mean to.
How come you threw that pick that one time? Yeah, no.
Did you not see what
great.
uniform that guy was wearing?
Yeah, exactly, right? That's so you don't really want to deal with that sort of thing as a player.
Yeah,
But that's something that can be.
This was
improved,
the
and that's not a deal
NFL.
breaker.
Somebody would have gotten punched already, but these guys can't
Oh,
afford
yeah.
to punch reporters.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that can and hopefully will be improved upon. And if it is, that's nothing that will ever break up a league. But the official reporting is definitely great. So a lot of positive things to say about the XFL. We'll see what happens this weekend. Our predictions are given. Let us know yours in the comments. And if you guys don't have anything to add to this weekend, we are done here. So Smokey, JJ, you got anything else?
That's it.
No.
Nothing. Great. So thank you for watching the video. Drop a like on it if you did enjoy it, and subscribe to Beyond Football and the Trash Talkers channel. That's Smokey's channel. Link on my channel page to that for more episodes of the Scoreboard. You don't want to miss those because we're talking XFL, covering every single week. And obviously when we get into the NFL draft season, but honestly, that right now that really is just that's secondary, and that's honestly already a good thing. That speaks to the quality of the XFL. So more coverage coming up. Let us know your picks. Let us know your bets. What's your lock-in? Take it to the bank. 100% guaranteed bet of the week. And give us your picks. Give us your pick'ems. Give us your spreads, and we'll see how they stack up against ours next week when the results are in. But for now, thank you for watching, and we're gonna see you in the next one.
Deuces.